Hi, my name is Sasha Wisdom, and I'll be presenting on Barack Obama. Obama was our first African American president and is a very inspirational figure. Despite the racism that exists in America, Barack has managed to be extremely successful. He gave communities hope and inspired them by breaking the barriers in American politics. Prior to and post being the president, Obama has been an advocate for minorities and the poor and has used his success to bring awareness to issues touching on race and class, democracy, and civil rights, and much more. Barack Obama was born in Honolulu, Hawaii on August 4th, 1961. Obama is biracial and his father's name is Barack Sr. and his mother's name is Ann Durham. Barack Sr. is from Kenya and Ann is from Kansas. Barack Sr. was the first ever student from an African country to go to the University of Hawaii. Barack Sr. was also a member of Kenya's Luau ethnic group, many of whom played a key role in Kenya's struggle for independence. His mother, Ann Durham, was from Kansas and her ancestors were anti-slavery activists. Funny enough, the Durhams were very accepting of Barack Sr., but Barack's family back in Kenya was not accepting of his marriage to Ann. Because of this, when Obama was 2 years old, his parents divorced. His mother remarried a man from Indonesia, and at 6, him and his mother moved. However, at 10 years old, Obama moved back to Hawaii to live with his grandparents. He was sent to a prestigious school in Honolulu, where he wasn't always the best student. Instead of studying, Obama would spend hours on the basketball court with his friends and even admits to experimenting with marijuana and cocaine. He graduated from this prestigious school and went to Occidental College in LA. Obama decided to get serious about his studies, and midway through, he transferred to Columbia University in New York City. He got an undergraduate in political science and became a community organizer in Harlem. After realizing he could not afford to live in the city with a job that paid so little, he moved to Chicago to work for a church-based social services organization there. The group was active on the city's south side, which is one of America's most impoverished urban communities. He decided that it was time to move on, and he applied to Harvard Law School and was accepted. In 1990, he was elected president of the Harvard Law Review Journal. He was the first African American to serve in the post, which basically assured him of any career path he chose after graduation. Obama was offered jobs from top Manhattan law firms with starting salaries that neared 6-digit ranges. He decided to instead return to Chicago and work for a small firm that specialized in civil rights law. Obama's other reason for returning to Chicago was Michelle Robinson. The two began dating while he was in Harvard, and in 1992, they were married. Obama also considered Chicago a place from which he could launch a political career. He became active in a number of projects. He worked on a local voter registration drive that registered thousands of black voters in Chicago. The effort was said to have helped Bill Clinton win the state in his successful bid for the White House in 1992. On top of all this, he also held a teaching job, teaching classes at the University of Chicago Law School. Dreams from My Father tells the story of Obama's struggle to understand the forces that shaped him as the son of a black man and white woman. His father left Hawaii due to his family's disapproval of Ann when Obama was just 2. So he only knows things about his father that he's been told. The realities of race and power reassert themselves through his father's departure. And Barack realizes the fears and doubts that exist not just between the black and white worlds, but within himself. A central theme in Dreams of My Father is how race can play a large role A central theme in this book is how race can play a large role in one's determination of identity and place in society. Throughout the book, Obama analyzes the differences between blacks and whites and how they feel towards each other. Despite growing up mostly around white people, he comes to identify himself with African Americans. However, Obama still recognizes the impact being raised by whites has had on who he is and the opportunities that come with it. In Chicago, Obama observes the culture and lives of lower-income blacks and how their own feelings of their race affect their mindset and how they live. Despite political and racial conflict, Obama works to turn back the mounting despair of the inner city. While traveling through Kenya, a country racked by brutal poverty and tribal conflict, he sees people who are sustained by a spirit of endurance and hope. He finds himself connecting to these people, and by embracing their common struggles, his inner struggle can finally be resolved. Obama has finally met the family that he never got to know, and in finding out about his father and his father's life, he comes to an understanding, and the troubles of his mind are eased. This experience, along with the friendly nature of the people, gives Obama a new perspective on family and leads him to more greatly appreciate the concept. Obama shows how much of an impact race and inheritance had on his life. And that is something many people can relate to. After his book was published, Obama did not try to pursue a career as an author, but instead started his career as a politician. In 1996, Obama ran from his home district of Hyde Park for a seat in the Illinois State Senate. He won the election and was elected for 2 terms. In 1998, Obama was re-elected to a 4-year term, and in 2002 was re-elected yet again to another 4-year term. Obama had a very successful career in the Illinois State Senate. He championed a bill that gave tax breaks to low-income families and expanded a state health insurance program for uninsured children. He also wrote a bill that required law enforcement officials in every community to begin keeping track of their traffic stops and noting the race of the driver. This bill was aimed at reducing incidents of alleged racial profiling or undue suspicion turned onto certain minority or ethnic groups by police officers on patrol. Thanks to Obama's determined effort to get support from both political parties in the Senate, the bill was passed. Another important piece of legislation that won passage was the requirement of police to videotape homicide confessions. There were deep flaws in Illinois' death penalty system that sent more than a dozen innocent men to death row. This bill was controversial because many claimed that a murder case could unravel due to a faulty video recorder. However, that wouldn't be possible, and the bill passed. The Illinois State Senate is the first place Obama served in an elected office. It was his longest held political position, and was also the perch from which he launched his U.S. Senate bid.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is the true genius of America. We're blessed, believing that in a tolerant America, your name is no barrier. What we think, write what we think without hearing a sudden knock on the door. That we can have an idea and start our own business without paying a bribe. That we can participate in the political process without fear of retribution, and that our votes will be counted, at least most of the time. Go into any inner city neighborhood, and folks will tell you that government alone can't teach our kids to learn. They know that parents have to teach, that children can't achieve unless we raise their expectations and turn off the television sets and eradicate the slander that says a black youth with a book is acting white. They know those things. When we send our young men and women into harm's way, we have a solemn obligation not to fudge the numbers or shade the truth about why they're going, to care for their families while they're gone, to tend to the soldiers upon their return, and to never, ever go to war without enough troops to win the war, secure the peace, and earn the respect of the world. Hope in the face of difficulty, hope in the face of uncertainty. the audacity of hope. In the end, that is God's greatest gift to us, the bedrock of this nation. Alongside our famous individualism, there's another ingredient in the American saga, a belief that we're all connected as one people. If there's a child on the south side of Chicago who can't read, that matters to me, even if it's not my child. If there's a senior citizen somewhere who can't pay for their prescription drugs and having to choose between medicine and the rent, that makes my life poor, even if it's not my grandparent. If there's an Arab American family being rounded up without benefit of an attorney or due process, that threatens my civil liberties. It is that fundamental belief. It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work. It's what allows us to pursue our individual dreams and yet still come together as one American family. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a...
Obama already had a good following in Illinois, but after delivering the Democratic National Convention's keynote address in 2004, he found himself in the national spotlight. Obama wrote his speech, The Audacity of Hope, himself, and it is considered to be one of the best convention keynote addresses of the modern era. His speech struck a hopeful, healing tone for a drastically divided nation. After this speech, some predicted Obama would become a strong leader in the Democratic Party and could even run for president. Obama shares stories of his early days in his speech and conveys the message that we are one America. We are not black citizens and white citizens. We are the citizens of the United States of America. Obama was then sworn into the U.S. Senate in 2005 at just 43 years old, becoming one of the youngest members in Senate at the time. Obama is also the 5th African American in history to become a U.S. Senator. The first major piece of legislation Obama introduced was the HOPE Act. Its goal was to increase the maximum amount that the federal government provides each student who receives need-based financial aid for college. Similar to his work in Illinois, Obama is still fighting for the impoverished. Obama ran on a platform of change and ended up winning the 2008 presidential election. While president, Obama continued to fight for minorities and the poor and those who had no one fighting for them. Obama signed the Affordable Care Act, which provided health insurance to over 20 million uninsured Americans. He also dropped the homeless rate by 50% and commuted the sentences of nearly 1,200 drug offenders to reverse unjust and outdated prison sentences. He nominated the first ever Hispanic to serve as a justice, Sonia Sotomayor, to the Supreme Court, and he also combated pay discrimination against women by signing the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. He supported the LGBTQ community by fighting for their marriage equality and repealed the military's Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, which was extremely homophobic. Throughout his life, Obama has been very perceptive of those who are oppressed by the people on top. African Americans, minorities, other minorities, the poor, LGBTQ plus communities, women, and Obama wanted to change this. And that's what he did, to the best of his ability. While of course great change doesn't happen overnight, Obama set the country on the right path toward this change. Unfortunately, our current president is only sending us backward, but you take 2 steps forward and you take 1 step back.